Hey everyone, Jason Weckerly here. In today's video, we're covering a couple books that I read about the singer, actress, and music legend Marianne Faithfull. Recently, she just died at the age of 78 years old of health complications. She lived a really rough life. She almost died about 3 or 4 times throughout her life. She's been in a coma. She suffered through drug addiction, alcoholism, all sorts of just tragic things throughout her life. But she also lived a really magnificent life. She got to know a lot of very famous musicians and people. She dated a lot of them. She slept with a lot of them. She lived a really wild life. And I remember reading books by Pink Floyd, the Rolling Stones, even the Beatles, all sorts of books by famous musicians. And Marianne Faithfull always appeared in photographs. She appeared in documentaries. She appeared just in these books and these stories about these rock stars. And I never really knew that she was an actress. I never knew she was a singer. And to be honest with you, I unfortunately thought she was a groupie because all the tabloids, all the media always makes it seem like this woman just slept with Mick Jagger or slept with Keith Richards or, stuff like that. So I never really gave her any thought. But then she passed away, and I started watching documentaries and kind of checking out her music, and I really fell in love with her music. Her voice is a preferred taste. Not everyone's gonna like her voice. It's really raspy. It's kind of a smoker's voice, just gravelly, raspy, but it really fits the melancholic and really atmospheric music that she makes, really melodic music that she was a part of throughout her life. And she covered a lot of other people's songs, and every time she did, those songs were always sometimes better than the originals, oftentimes better than the originals, because she really took those songs, made them her own, and she's got a great voice, in my opinion. When she first started out as a younger teenage kind of pop star in the 1960s, her voice was beautiful, bright, but then sickness, drugs, suicide attempts, smoking really took hold of her vocals, and by the mid 1970s, early 1970s, she got that gravelly voice that we all know. And well, if you guys want to know who Marianne Faithfull is, if you guys don't know already, she was the one that sang with Metallica on the song The Memory Remains off of the Load album. She was the one that did that ah da 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 da. She was the one that did that. So we all know Marianne Faithfull in some way, whether it's through movies, music, rock and roll lore, whatever. But today I'm covering the book Faithfull An Autobiography by Marianne Faithfull with David Dalton. And I'm also covering Marianne Faithfull, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. And this one is, this one's written by her. So, The Ultimate Rock Chick, Independent on Sunday. That's what it says on the cover. These are the two books I read recently. I liked the autobiography a little bit more because it was more chronological and told her whole life story. She was born in the late 1940s, like a lot of the rock and roll legends, and she grew up in England. She had a mother who was a really eccentric person, and I think she was a dancer. She worked, in the clubs. She worked around as an actress, and this was back in the 1930s, early 40s, and she partied a lot, and a lot of that kind of was distilled into Marianne Faithfull because, well, she became a party animal. She became a lot like her mother in many ways, and they didn't always get along. Her mom and her father didn't always approve of Marianne's path in life, or the fact that when she was with Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones, She was found nude, wrapped up in a carpet because she was taking a bath, and the cops broke in to do a drug bust, and she didn't have any clothes in the bathroom or any towel. She forgot to grab a towel. So she just found a carpet on the ground, wrapped herself up quick, and, well, she came walking down the stairs in front of the police, and the cops started to razz her and harass her, and she just dropped that carpet. She was butt naked right in front of them. The cops got a real eyeful with that, and they spread rumors that they found her sleeping with a bunch of rock stars in an orgy, and they were doing really graphic things to her with a Mars bar, candy bar. That rumor spread around, and if you're a parent of a daughter who has rumors like that spreading around and this rebellious image, I'm sure it's not very easy. And Marianne had a hard time living with that for the rest of her life, because that single situation painted her as a groupie, which, like I said, I thought she was a groupie. I just thought she was kind of like a Pamela DeBar or Laurie Maddox or Penny Lane on Almost Famous, the movie, whatever. But she really was affected by that situation, and she was thrust into the limelight at a very young age in the early to mid 1960s, around 1963 or 64. She was touring all over the country with the likes of Roy Orbison and the Beatles and all sorts of rock and roll legends, the Rolling Stones. She got to know everybody. I mean, you name a rock star, and she knows them. She hung out with them, probably roommated with them, did drugs with them, whatever. But Marianne Faithfull, she was a great woman, and she was an absolute sweetheart. I could tell that from her interviews. When she was young, her head was in the clouds, and she was really funny, goofy, and saw the whole world ahead of her. And then by the time drugs and alcohol took hold and life really got her down after a few suicide attempts, she basically became kind of a harder soul. She was always sweet, but her music took on darker and darker topics and styles. I mean, I was surprised how progressive, like how much based in progressive rock and hard rock, metal, punk, her music really was, and it went everywhere. I mean, she even did a country album. She touched base on a lot of different genres of music, which is why I consider her a progressive artist, a progressive musician. She went from being a pop star in the mid 60s to kind of a hard rock country punk by the mid to late 1970s. She was doing more of like kind of a progressive electronic punk, new wave. I don't know what to, like with Broken English, the album. She did some great songs on there, like covering John Lennon's Working Class Hero and Why'd You Do What You Did or whatever. That's a great song. Broken English is absolutely awesome, but I actually prefer all her music live in concert. Aside from a few albums, she put out an album in 1995 that was really dark, progressive, atmospheric, ambient, that I absolutely love. But I really prefer her in concert the most because the band was always heavier. The music, some of the songs were extended and longer, more improv. She was more into it. I mean, her voice sometimes, like when she did Working Class Hero about 10 to 20 years ago, I saw a video on YouTube. It just blew me out of the water. I was just mind blown by it. And like I said, a lot of people might not like her voice, but I really like it. I think it fits the music she does really well. Her life, she was a heroin addict, cocaine addict, alcoholic. She tried to attempt suicide in the late 1960s. She tried to attempt suicide again later on in life. Either that or she had an overdose. I'm not really sure if she's even sure what happened because, well, she took too many drugs and she knew better, but she took too many anyways, basically. But I mean, thank God she lived to be 78 years old because she had a lot of health problems. I can't even tell you the list of health problems she had, and she really suffered from cancer. She suffered from lung problems from smoking, and the list goes on and on and on. Her organs failing. And a lot of it had to do with her suicide attempts. A lot of it had to do with her drug addiction, her smoking, all that. But I mean, later on in life, she started to take care of herself a little bit better, but she could never quit smoking completely. And the book Faithfull touches base on her entire life, but the book Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, Marianne Faithfull, these are a list of stories from throughout her life, just little things that she wanted to touch base on. She touches base on what some of her songs are about and some of her albums are about, and some of the people that came and went in her life and how they impacted her life or influenced her. It was a really interesting book. It was kind of fragmented because it bounces around throughout her life to different stories. And some of these stories were really interesting. Some of them I didn't care so much for because I really wanted to read about her more, but she would talk about someone else for so long that I had no interest in or whatever. I know they impacted her life, but when I'm reading a book about an artist, I really want to know about the artist most of all. And I would say about a quarter of this book I could have done without, but it's a good book nonetheless. And some of you might really like the stories. I really highly recommend you guys check out Marianne Faithfull, her music, her movies, her interviews, documentaries. She's a really fascinating woman to learn about. And if you're into really artistic, dark music, like melancholic, sad, depressing music like I am, her music is right up there with some of the best. And she's collaborated with some of the best, from David Bowie, Roger Waters. I mean, the list goes on and on. The Rolling Stones, whatever. Like, she did Sister Morphine with the Rolling Stones. Awesome song. I mean, she was with Mick Jagger for I'd say about 5 or 6 years of her life. And she left Mick Jagger, and he was one of the loves of her life. But she felt like if she didn't leave him, she probably was about to die, because the Rolling Stones, everyone knows, was a big druggy band. I mean, who wasn't in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, even today? But I mean, if you were hanging out with the Rolling Stones, chances are you were addicted to drugs, you were getting into some bad shit. And I kind of feel like Marianne Faithfull, her life was sucked into drug addiction by the Rolling Stones and her dating Mick Jagger and sleeping around with Keith Richards, even though she was friends with Anita Pallenberg, Keith Richards' ex-wife, and the mother of his children. They were all trading partners back then. It was just one big orgy, basically. So it was the 1960s and 70s. I mean, guess it was different times, but some of that's a little too wild for my tastes. But she lived a wild life, and I highly recommend you look into her, read her books, listen to her music. All her albums are a little bit different from the last. Some albums are better than others, but every album has a few songs on it I really love. And right now I'm in the midst of actually making a mix on a hard drive so I can listen to it in my car, because I like music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way to the end of her life that she did. But there was particularly an album in 1995 she did. It's got kind of like a black and white album cover, if I'm remembering it right. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put the title down below. Absolutely killer album, and that one blew me away the most. I liked Broken English. Everyone hypes that one up. There's a couple songs on there I didn't care for, but that album from 95, wow. And I'm really happy I looked into her music, her life, and I hope you guys do the same. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna shut up now and go and edit this video so I can release it to you guys. But check out Marianne Faithfull if you haven't already, if you're not a fan already. And check out these two books, Faithfull An Autobiography and Marianne Faithfull, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. If you guys like this video, subscribe to my page, hit the like button. I'll be releasing more reviews on books, albums, my thoughts on whatever's going on in music. And hopefully you guys like this page and show some support. Take care.